American Psycho is an all-time classic, a film loved by intellectuals, meme enjoyers, and even psychopaths. I'm serious, there's some heavy Patrick Bateman fan clubs and full-on cults out there, so how come no one has heard about its sequel? American Psycho 2. American Psycho is an all-time great movie for 6 distinct reasons, in my opinion. First and foremost, it's got a great plot, and it's visually captivating. The narrative is great because the movie is based on an already successful novel, Bret Easton Ellis' American Psycho. Overall, the plot stayed pretty faithful to the source material as well. The film is stylistically distinct, with very polished costumes and set designs that cleverly mirror the superficial values of the characters in the movie. More importantly, American Psycho has got incredible philosophical and psychological depth. The movie delves into the psyche of a man who epitomizes the moral and emotional bankruptcy of an entire era. It raises questions about identity, reality, and the nature of evil, which are expressed through Bateman's internal monologues and his interactions with others. The movie is a scathing satire of the excesses of the 80s American capitalist society. It cleverly critiques the superficiality, greed, and narcissism prevalent in the era, particularly among the yuppies in Wall Street, which, let's be honest, hasn't really gotten better over the last 20 years. Directed by Mary Harron, the film balances a fine line between horror, black comedy, and psychological thriller. Harron's direction ensures that the film's tone supports its complex themes without becoming overly gruesome or silly, which is crucial given the extreme behaviors depicted. Last, but certainly not least, Christian Bale's performance was what catapulted this unlikely thriller into an all-time classic. Christian Bale's portrayal of Patrick Bateman is widely regarded as his career-defining role. His ability to capture both his character's suave charm and chilling detachment adds a compelling depth to the film. Bale's performance is both charismatic and terrifying, keeping us engaged and uneasy at the same time. With all of these aspects combined, American Psycho has gained a cult status. This is also largely helped by its quotable lines, memorable scenes, open to interpretation ending, and of course, the memes. But all jokes aside, even today the film is very relevant, and you are always able to find new layers and meanings in American Psycho with every single rewatch. So what the hell happened in American Psycho 2? The sequel introduces a new protagonist, Rachel Newman, played by Mila Kunis, who supposedly kills Patrick Bateman as a child and later becomes obsessed with serial killing. A huge problem was that the source material ended with the first movie. There was only one novel, and there was only meant to be one novel. So it's up to the studios and the writers to continue the narrative, and obviously that always ends up great. Just look at Game of Thrones. So yeah, the plot was not good. It felt way too forced and incoherent to be compelling, let alone scary like the original. In fact, Ellis himself has distanced from the sequel, indicating that it does not represent his literary intentions or themes. The lack of continuity makes this feel less like a sequel and more like a parody written by a jealous co-writer who was forced out of the script. The only references to the original movie or Bateman were in the form of severed heads and masks, which were used more for shock value rather than any artistic purposes. Its blatant disrespect for the original makes this not just a bad sequel, but a terrible piece of media that is literally harmful to the original masterpiece. Directed by Morgan J. Freeman, not to be confused with actor Morgan Freeman, the film did not receive the same careful treatment or visionary direction as Mary Harron's work on the first film. It felt more like a low-budget direct-to-video release lacking in both style and substance. Unlike the first film, which masterfully balances psychological horror with dark satire, American Psycho 2 shifts towards a more straightforward slasher or thriller genre. This lazy change in tone misses the sophisticated critique of the 80s corporate excess and psychological depth that defined the original. I think the most important factor that contributed to American Psycho 2's inevitable failure was its absolute lack of any philosophical or psychological depth. What was perhaps the main selling point of the original masterpiece was the downfall of its sequel. It's a very shallow and 2D slasher movie, and fans of the original who were ready to dive into the deep end of the never-ending vortex of psychological complexity ended up crashing headfirst into a kiddie pool. And most the sequel managed to capture was me kill as a child, me kill now. Not all that deep. Lastly, while Mila Kunis is a talented actress, her character in the film was not well received. Her character development and motivations felt extremely shallow compared to Christian Bale's complex portrayal of Patrick Bateman. Mila Kunis later expressed regret for the project, but I mean, you can't really blame her, she really did the best she could with what she was given. And don't even get me started on the other characters. They're basically just generic horror movie victims. They lack any hint of depth or ambiguity that might make them compelling. At this point, it's unclear why they even made a sequel, when it basically has nothing to do with the original movie. I mean, scratch that, I do know why, and I'm sure you do too. But this quick cash grab didn't even end up in theaters, just straight to video. All in all, I'm glad American Psycho 2 was executed so poorly that most people probably don't even know about it. So it's a much smaller taint on the American Psycho legacy than it could have been. In summary, it's probably for the best that this sequel is forgotten. If you're still here, hit the subscribe button to see more stuff like this. Comment down below if you've actually watched American Psycho 2 and tell me your thoughts. You think studios will take American Psycho 2 as a case study and learn from its mistakes? But somehow, DreamWorks managed to pump out an even worse sequel, Megamind 2.